What's up, everybody? It's waba, and I am making this a response video to a video that Mathil had actually put out earlier today, by the title of "Triggered: Do Divination Cards Serve Their Purpose?" This is not at all to. This is honestly meant to be a very open discussion about it. My one concern about the PoE community is that a lot of the times it seems to turn into like this big echo chamber between like the success of divination cards or particular divination cards or the trade system or the public stash tabs, etc., etc., etc. And the echo chamber that I like to refer to it as, usually it turns out to be negative, and I think that's something that we all should be a little bit more conscious of, especially when we're thinking about the design decisions that GG is putting out. So, this is my response to this video that was put out this morning by good old Mathil. Appreciate you, buddy. So it's about divination cards and like their purpose, and are they really hitting their purpose? Are they achieving what they were meant to be? And from my point of view, I think that they are, and I think they're doing exceedingly well, and I think they're just getting better and better as we get more divination cards. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, though, specifically with them, is that rare items that are provided by divination cards, Vol's Devotion, Shavron's Wrappings, any of these really good items, Veranastra, rare items should remain rare. I know that's like a really straightforward statement, and it's a lot easier said than done, especially considering when we have items like Veranastra or Vol's Devotion. These are no longer available to drop, so the only way you actually can get them is through divination cards or via chancing, with Xanamat mods, etc., etc., etc. But I quite like this setup that they have, and I like the fact that for the most part the divination cards have actually not really hurt the value of these items, but instead given players another way to achieve these items, which is specifically what Mathil was talking about. And the fact of the matter is that they do provide players with another way to get an item. Before, the only way you could really get a Shavron's Wrapping is either chanting every single Oculus vestment that dropped, or just having one drop for you, or purchasing one, which is one that someone else had chanced or had found. And, those were the three ways you could do it before, but now you have, you could go into Merciless and kill Shavron in there, and she could drop it, and you could also get it by killing Shavron in Core. Now, obviously, killing Shavron in Core is not going to be something that a huge part of the player base is probably going to be able to do. And honestly, even killing it in Merciless is not something that you're going to see a lot of people do. Core is an extremely rare map, and it's a tier 15, so because of this, you're not going to see too many of them drop unless you are specifically doing it, and even then you might not see a drop. But what I really want to point out here is that when you are farming a certain area, like let's just say you want a Veranastra and you are looking to get the Formless Sea Divination card. Yeah, I get it. You could run a lot and you may not drop it at all, but you are dropping other things that you could convert to currency that you could then convert to the card, because they are being generated and they are being found by other players. Maybe I feel like this because I have found some worthwhile cards that people usually say are a little bit on the more rare side, or they have a hard time getting them. I honestly think Celestial Justicar is an amazing card for what it is. It's in a tier 1 map. It's in Crypt. Gives you a 6-link Astral Plate. Gives you a 6-link Astral Plate. And even if you're not getting the card, you could usually farm up the currency to purchase the cards or purchase the item. So it's still giving you a way to do that. If you do kill Chevron and Merciless 1,000 times and you only get one card, that's going to suck. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be generating currency while you're doing that, and you could funnel that towards getting the item. What I think this really did with divination cards is the fact that, before you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to play wherever is best. I'm just going to play in the most efficient zone for me to play in, and I'm gonna farm up all the currency I can and hope, maybe I'll get lucky and I will drop the item, or I'll chance the item that I'm looking for. But now at least you could work your way incrementally to those items if those do drop. And think about how rewarding it does feel when you are farming crypts and you see a Celestial Justicar drop. And think about that. I mean, just like, it is actually a substantial reward considering the amount of cards that it takes. And I know this varies from divination set to divination set, but the point that I'm trying to make is, when they do drop, they are serving their purpose, and you could still purchase them otherwise. They're not, bind on pickup. That's a big WoW thing. We're not ever going to see that here, but they are rewarding when they do drop, and that's a part of the whole reason that I think they work. And the other thing, and this kind of goes back to that, right? So it is targetable. All the cards are targetable from my perspective, because we have very good cards that people look for at the beginning of the leagues. One of my favorite cards, even though I haven't really found myself needing it, is Fiora's Gift. Fiora's Gift is the card that gives you a 5-link 6-socket staff. It drops in Tropical Island. It is pretty common, and it is something that players can recognize and use at the start of a league, to get a quick 5-link, if they are using a staff. And I think this is actually perfect. I think this is one of the best things about divination cards, is it gives you a place to go, and a place where you want to be, because maybe you get the off chance of getting your card. Now, the more common cards, like Fiora's Gift, or is it Fiora? It's Flora. Flora's Gift. Those more common cards, you're going to see them frequently, so they may not feel as impactful as you seeing a Formless Sea drop in the Reef. So, but it is still serving the purpose. When they drop, it's fine. Now, I know the video is more in regards to Lucky Deck. Lucky Deck does have a pretty high card number that it requires. It requires 9 cards in order for you to work it or to use it. And I think that with the value of, or with everything changing, we'll see the price point of Lucky Deck come down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to get the card. That doesn't mean you're not earning your way towards the item or the card at all. That's the big thing that I really want to point out here. And then on top of that, like, I understand the point that you're saying that they drop so rarely, so you just end up trying to sit around and snipe it on PoE trade. You want to get the Formless Sea, but then no one's actually online. Again, I kind of point to the fact that, one, we are in a league right now that is kind of slowing down. We're not going to have as many players as we usually would. And on top of that, if you are, again, this is not me calling anyone out, but if you do find yourself sitting around thinking like, man, I really want a Formless Sea, and you're just like looking on PoE trade and you're just trying to find every single one, you should just be running Reefs. Why don't you just buy some Reefs? Why don't you just run those? The game is 100% RNG based. So the best thing that you could always do in Path of Exile is trigger your RNG. And looking at things like PoE trade and just waiting for one to pop up on that live search, that's not doing that. Although most people are probably playing in the background, and that's fine. And I get that. I'm just pointing out that if you're trying to do something like that, you do have a targetable area. You just spend your time in Reef. And one of the last things I want to talk about is specifically how a lot of people have suggested this. They say, well, why don't we just increase the amount of cards that you need and we'll have more cards drop? I don't want to get too deep into the math here because I can't really explain it that well, but it just doesn't work like that. Of course, there would be numbers that would need to be balanced by GG if they wanted to do that, but I am pretty confident when I say that they are happy with the way the cards work right now and the rate at which people can attain the cards, because really, if you were to do that, it would just be a placebo effect. And a placebo effect is inherently deceptive for what it is. And I don't really think that will help the players in any way, because eventually people are just going to catch on and say, hey, wait a second, this is just the same shit as before. I'm not able to get my full Brittle Emperor set after I've done 1200, 1500 Vol runs. Like, it's just placebo. So it's, I know, saying things like, oh, we should just increase the number of cards and we could, increase the number of cards it takes to turn it in and then increase the drop rate. The math doesn't actually work out like that at all, and it would require a lot of work, and then it would just all end up being the same thing. In fact, having the lowest amount of cards that they could, determine is best for balance is the best for the players, because that means when you do get that card, it is absolutely the most rewarding. Now, I also like to compare this to, farming for currency, or, just playing, because you could get currency anywhere, right? Like, there's no place in Rayclast where an Exalt drops more often than, the other place. So you just play anywhere. When you get an Exalt drop, it's awesome, right? Like, you get this great feeling like, oh, I just found an Exalt. Before when you had Eternals, I remember when an Eternal dropped for me, and I was just like, oh man, this is an Eternal. And I just sat there and I looked at it, and I picked it up, and then I went back to town and I put it in my stash, and I logged out, I logged back in, and it was still there. It was very rewarding when I found that Eternal. I still have that Eternal, by the way. And the same way, I'm sure it is for, if you find a Miracalandra. I have not found one of these, so I don't know. But it's extremely rewarding. So having the card numbers be as low as possible is better. And think of it like this, too. When a Chaos drops, most people pick it up. When Exalt drops, everybody picks it up. When a Transmute drops, a lot of people skip those. So if you do increase the card count, by a certain number, and you just make them drop more frequently, people may just run by them at that point. They may not value them as much as they did before. So I just want to point out that doing that is just pretty much would be a placebo effect and could have some negative side effects. And then the last thing I want to say in this video, I wrote it down because there were a lot of them. At one point, you did mention, again, all discussion. I really enjoy your content, Mathil. Disclaimer. But at one point, you did mention like what card you thought was a success of the Divination cards, and I went ahead and wrote down a list of cards that I find to be I don't want to say success, because I think Divination cards are successful, but the cards that I enjoy the most when they drop. So, first off, my first and my favorite card in Path of Exile is the Lover. It is 2 cards, it drops in Necropolis. It requires 2 cards, it drops in Necropolis and any map, I believe in Graveyard, and it gives you a rare 79 piece of eye level 79 piece of jewelry. I think this card is the best card in the game. I love its design. It gives you a reward. It's easy to get. It's just, this card is beautiful. Another card is Humility. You mentioned that specifically in your video, and it is a good card. It's a great way to get a Tabula Rasa. Flora's Gift, or Fiora's Gift. I'm not going to look at that right now, but again, I mentioned that earlier. I believe that card is really, really good. One card that I think a lot of people overlook, and it's a currency card, Actually, I have two currency cards that I really enjoy, but the one that I enjoy more is Gem Cutter, and Gem Cutter specifically because they do drop fairly regularly. But then the other card I have that is currency is Three Faces in the Dark, and I understand that some people they have issue with having parts of cards being worth like a half a chaos, and then you're just essentially sitting on it. But when you do finish it, you get three chaos. It just sits there. I think this card is good too. The trial is actually the one that gives you a rare tier 15 map. It requires 7 cards. I think this card is a major success too for what it is. Dapper Parted or Dapper Prodigy. This is the 6-link card. Chains That Bind. Another 6-link card. Dapper Prodigy is the one that gives you a item level 100 6-link body armor, and it's pretty low too. And you could do almost all of these. You could pretty much farm deterministically. Celestial Justicar is another one. The Gladiator is one that is actually pretty good. It drops often, and with the current recent changes and Devoto's Devotion becoming more popular, it's a great way to get that. The Pack Leader is another really good card that drops pretty frequently. You could get this in Jungle Valley and some other places, I'm sure. I don't know. Vinya's Token. That's actually the other one that I really, really enjoy. Vinya's Token is it's 5 cards. It gives you 10 Orb of Regrets. I mean, it's a good card, and why I want to bring all these up is that they are successes in the divination card system. And the one thing that I think we should remember is that GGG does a lot. They base their design decisions off of a lot of influences from other games that they've played in the past. And I think that what we're seeing here is, and we've talked about this before, we all know Chris Wilson and everyone at the office loves Magic the Gathering, and it is deck building. And you are essentially doing the same thing here with divination cards. How you get the cards is either here or there, but overall, I really enjoy the divination card system. I hope I brought up some good points for the people that were kind of on the fence and feeling like, oh, maybe they are a little rough, or maybe the system isn't working the way it should. And again, I wanted to put this out there because I don't like the echo chamber that seems to happen, and I wanted people to see another point of view. You guys, if you haven't watched Mathil's video, I'll put a link in the description below. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think specifically of divination cards. And let's talk about it, because I happen to really enjoy divination cards, and it's the thing that at the start of a league, recently I've been playing this character. This is a poison lightning trap character that I've been really enjoying, a saboteur, and I'm looking at the tranquility and anarchy's price, as a way to get a Voltaxic ASAP at the start of a league. And I think these are like fantastic tools for players to have. The one downside is that these tools do serve more experienced players more than inexperienced players. So I guess that's the one bad thing I would say about this. And on top of that, divination cards, the way they work, once an item goes down in value, divination cards become that much better, i.e. Tranquility, Anarchy's Price, Voltaxic Rift is not that valuable anymore, but these divination cards are reflected in that value. So, yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Comment down below. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. A lot of you might think I'm wrong, because I know a lot of people don't want to enjoy things about this game, while I still do thoroughly. So yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like the video. Mathil, have a good one. Peace, guys. Again, Waba here. Thanks again for watching that video. Just so we know, the past month I've actually been doing a lot of work, putting a lot of videos together, from craft sessions, animate weapon builds, Frostbomb Vortex builds, Poison Lightning Trapper builds. I've been doing a lot of things. I've been really up to date on my YouTube content as of late. So if you haven't had a chance, please check it out. Again, thank you for watching. See you later.